Okay, Kris Jenkins, defensive tackle from Michigan, guy we're really excited about. Another guy we met with at the Combine, a guy we brought in on a 30 visit. And it's really funny, on my 30 visit, one of the notes I made to myself was I didn't have much to talk to him about because I didn't have a lot of questions about him. I mean, he's a polished guy, captain at Michigan, checks every box. There wasn't a lot you had to dig into him with, and so we just had a nice, friendly conversation, but there wasn't a lot of questions I needed to get answered because we had the information we needed, and we really liked the guy and happy he was there at 49.
So what did that talk about?
We just talked about his just life.
Lou, why is he a fit in your defense at that specific position of need for you guys?
Yeah, I just like everything about his game. He's a tough run defender. He's got great football instincts. As Zac already mentioned, he brings leadership. He's been a captain, I think second team All-American, and just a tough guy overall, and plays the game the right way.
Lou, is he the type of guy that could find in early downs, a guy who would rush on third down? How do you see him?
Yeah, we see him as a three-down player. He'll certainly he's already shown that in college at a high level. So right now he'll be slotted in to rotate in with the other guys, and we're very excited to have him.
Is that your first? Go ahead, Jim. Is that the key when you're addressing defensive tackle this early in the draft, is finding a three-down player, making sure that he plays three down?
That's ideal. You want to have a vision and a role for the player and how they fit with us. And so we felt like Kris really fits in with the guys that we have in the building, and we're excited to get him.
Zac, your first two picks have 3 national championships combined.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, basically. How much it seems like a big part of your draft philosophy, that championship pedigree mindset?
I think that those players certainly rise. We evaluate the talent level and the person, and would you believe it? Some of the top programs in the country believe the same thing we do, and so they get quality people that are really talented players, and so I think it's no coincidence that when we end up falling in love with guys that those programs have as well.
From a positional standpoint, kind of where does he fit that? Is he a shade of a one like three? What do you feel like he?
Yeah, well, that's the good thing about him. He's done a bunch of different jobs at Michigan. We like that about our players, and he'll fit right in. I think he, has played some 5 technique, played some 3, played some shade, so really fits in kind of with the group that we have now and can do a bunch of different things.
You guys, this third straight year, you all take a Michigan guy early in the draft. What is it? Is there something philosophically that they do defensively that makes those guys really good fits for what you all want to do?
I think, like Zac just mentioned, I think it's more about, as we evaluate the players. Oh, by the way, happen to come from Michigan, but they're certainly won the national championship for a reason. They're surrounded by a bunch of good guys. So I think it's a little bit of a coincidence there, but Kris will fit right in well with our guys.
How important is it, Lou, for a guy, any defensive player, to come in, pick up systems very quickly?
Well, it always certainly a benefit, and he's a guy that we really like his football awareness, his instincts. So I don't think this guy will have Kris will have any trouble at all, just picking it up and running with it.
Zac, is that something that separates maybe a 4th, 5th, later pick between a first and a second rounder, is how quickly they can assimilate?
It factors in. I think the physical talent, number one, is something that really pops at the top of the draft like this, and that's what he's got. He also has a lot of intangibles that he gets the most out of his play and his preparation. And so, again, you don't want to sell a guy short. He uses every attribute that he's got to become the player that he has at Michigan, the captain, the champion, and now, a top pick for us.
Lou, he didn't post a lot of 2.5 sacks. Is he a pocket pusher? Like, what do you see from him in pass rusher?
Yeah, it's that's a position that where he's coming from. He's facing a lot of double teams inside. I think he's got a little bit ways to go in that part of his game, which we can help him with. But he's really demonstrated that he has been a stout guy in the run game so far, and we can kind of build on his game from there.
This is for either one of you, but does he need to put on more weight? The initial reports about him, or is that just a little bit undersized for the position standpoint?
Yeah, we'll wait to get the player in the building, and then we'll talk him through what our aspirations are for him.
Lou, I know you said it was a little bit of coincidence with all the Michigan guys, but last year watching DJ, the year before watching Dax, Does a guy like Kris pop out, or do you only focus on the guys in that particular draft?
No, it's a good question. I think anytime we're watching tape, we're always making note, hey, who's number, 98 or who's number 15 or whatever it may be. So, and you look it up, always an underclassman, and you have an idea who they are. If you don't know the name already, certainly at a school like that, you will probably know who it is. But no, it definitely helps. And, our guys upstairs do a great job of, making us aware of, keep an eye on this guy too as you're watching tape. So it definitely helps.
Coach, from an intangible,
Go ahead, Hub.
From an intangible standpoint, forget the numbers, forget the stats. From an intangible standpoint, where does this guy, rate? How does he stand?
Yeah, he checks all the boxes on that, especially. I just think he comes in, as we mentioned, he's done a bunch of different jobs on the field, been a captain, brings leadership, like everything about him. So from that standpoint, I think, we're real happy.
I know you can't plan on taking a specific position at any stage of the draft, especially early, but how big of a priority was it to address the defensive tackle?
It was a priority position, but again, we weren't just going to take anybody, and we were very fortunate the way it fell. We had high marks on Kris, and so thank goodness he was there. But it was a priority position for us. But at the same time, we weren't just going to take anybody, and he was one that we specifically had targeted, and so we were happy he was there at 49. Yeah, especially when you're staring at his name for a really long time. There's been moments like that for us in the past. Go ahead, Paul.
Sorry. The beginning of this round was not as nice as last night was. Probably there's a lot of names at positions that you guys obviously are interested in. How different was that experience, and how much of a sweat was it? I know you kind of mentioned it. How much of a sweat was that? Wondering about should you move up, should you not? What were those conversations?
It's hard to say because, again, he's one we wanted, and so we're fortunate to have it fell out. But had he been gone, there's other guys that we have a good vision for, and so that's just the way the draft goes. I think people that would sit in there for the first time would hear who we're targeting and they'd be sweating it out, but to just understand we got a good vision for a lot of the players that are still available, and they may be there in later rounds. We may be able to grab them. So at this point, it's kind of teams see guys differently maybe, and so some guys that you're maybe crossing your fingers for, they might still be there in the third round, and you'll have a shot to go grab them then.
How many minutes would you estimate you were just staring at Kris Jenkins' name?
It feels like these are 7-minute picks. They feel like 27 minutes.
I was squinting for an hour.
It feels like a long time.
Was the weight Logan-esque? Was it the Logan-like weight of 2020?
It was similar. I wouldn't say it was too dissimilar to that, yeah.
Lou, does the addition of Sheldon and his strength being able to rush the passer allow you to take a guy like Kris, who doesn't necessarily have some of that pass rushing yet? Like, does that kind of even it out?
Well, I think it's when you look at the position itself, I think it's a little bit, it's rare that you get the inside guys that create and produce multiple sacks inside. There's the Aaron Donalds of the world, and then there's everybody else. So you got to start with something that they do well. We'd rather start with they're a great run defender, and let's build on their pass rush, because I just think that's what fits us best right now. So so playing alongside of BJ and Sheldon and Zach and those guys, I think he fits in great.
How much does his athleticism just pop off when you're watching the film?
You just see a motor, so again, that's him using every ounce that he's been blessed with and he's developed himself, and that's what shows up is you're going to get that consistent player on every single down, and that goes a long way. And again, to the sack production, like as somebody who finds myself watching a lot of D tackles all season long, I never really look at the numbers. It's the tape, and they fit different in schemes and they play different opponents. Maybe that style of conference doesn't allow for as much, but we got a lot of belief in his upside.
Anything stand out when a guy is the son of a former Pro Bowler?
I mean, he acts like a pro, so we're always a little late to the party with the background of the player, so I think we're at the combine and we're starting to catch up on everybody, and we're reading through the bio and we're putting 2 and 2 together. Obviously, at that point, obviously our scouts and Duke and all them knew that a long time ago. But he knows. I think he carries himself the right way because that's just the type of person that he is. B, you can tell he's educated the right way on the process. He knows what to expect, and so I think that those are all things that benefit him. And you got to give credit to him. Like, you can just tell the multiple interactions we've had with Kris, he is grounded, and whoever gets credit for that deserves credit for that. But that certainly stood out every time that I've interacted with him.